Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Munch, munch, munch.
Hello and welcome to Daddy Eats Last, where we discuss the challenges of being a man in modern society and whatever the hell that even means. I'm Kane, and joining me to discuss all things manly and coronavirus, Ryan and Maddie. How are you guys?
Good, mate. Good. We've
Is that it?
we've got a puppy.
You got a puppy? I was going to say, was that just a default answer? I'm good. But if you got a puppy, this is good news.
Yeah, so I haven't been on the podcast for a couple of weeks. So we got him a few weeks back, a little Labrador. We called him Paddy, and he is integrating in the family wonderfully. It's like we've always had him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's great. Kids love him. Yeah.
What colour lab?
That golden-y colour.
Traditional golden lab. Excellent.
Yeah.
So is he living in the cubby? Is that you using that to quarantine anyone at the moment, self-isolating in there? No,
I haven't had to use that yet. So if the Queensland government need it, we can rent it out.
You know, I know puppies from when I was younger. How's like when you get puppies and they're really little, you generally feed them Wheat Bix with water or Wheat Bix with milk. How's Paddy going? Maybe on the Wheat Bix rationing at the moment.
I think maybe times have changed. Perhaps they've told us just dry food of a puppy variety. So yeah, 2 feeds a day, morning and night, and got to watch they don't overfeed the labs. Apparently, they are prone to put on a lot of weight quite easily. So yeah, we just give him his allocation. But yeah, he hasn't cried once since he's been here, and yeah, he's just a barrel of laughs.
That's great. It'd definitely be lightening the mood in the McTighe household.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to look up my my instructions on how to feed dogs, and maybe I might have to actually look up my instruction on how to feed kids. Like I'm just going on what I would have thought when I was a kid.
It changes, all the time, that stuff.
Hey, Ryan, how's London?
Not bad. We're in shutdown mode over here, so just adjusting to, I suppose, what is the new norm.
Yeah, we're recording this on the 22nd of March 2020? It'll be the 23rd when we release it, so it's released in about 12 hours time. And I guess when we first started talking about coronavirus or COVID-19 or whatever people want to call it, sort of 3 or 4 weeks ago, the landscape has completely changed in the UK and is completely changing in Australia. And yeah, Boris Johnson on Friday pretty much closed down the whole country, didn't he?
He did. I was watching that very closely. So Bojo came out and said that as of that night, clubs, bars, cafes, restaurants are all shut. Fast food outlets can continue to operate in a takeaway form. Cinemas, gyms, and all other leisure areas as well are to shut. So yeah, basically I suppose we woke up on Saturday in not utter lockdown, because we're all still allowed to go out for like a walk or go to the park or go for a run, but there's social distancing protocols. So, essentially the premise is if you're going for a run and a jog, you're going by yourself and you're not going to be, I suppose, being near anyone within that meter distance or 2 meter distance for that 15 minutes. Similarly, if you go and have a picnic at a park or whatever, basically keep a distance between you and other people. So yeah, it's a new world, I suppose, over here. But he's confident that we can turn it all, and within 12 weeks it'll be okay. But that message seems to change daily.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in there and say that's going to be a little bit tricky, because we all know how many people, the millions of people that live in London. Now, if you all are all in shutdown mode and you're all inside, and say you get a week's worth of very average weather, as soon as the sunshine hits and the rules are you're still allowed to go outside, it's going to be hard to police that with everybody heading down to Clapham Common to get a bit of sunshine. Is there any?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Especially over here with the weather. And most, I suppose the big difference over here compared to Australia is, yeah, London's got like 8-9 million people in it. Pretty much, unless you're quite wealthy, you don't have a backyard at all. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting. It will be possibly go the way of France and Italy, where there's actually military on the street policing it, which would be next level, but it seems to be sort of heading that way. So yeah, we're all kind of bunkering in, and Netflix, I think, is no longer in high definition in Europe because it would crash otherwise. But yeah, it's kind of get ready for some cabin fever.
And Australia's probably a couple of weeks behind, and we haven't got to the stage where we're locking down. They're talking about that tonight with the National Cabinet, which is the premiers and the Prime Minister, a couple other people are chatting about what that means for Australia. And we're looking at very similar sort of restrictions being put in place here. I think almost putting the military on the street would be a good idea, because we had 10,000 dickheads at Bondi Beach on Friday night or Friday afternoon, just basically sitting on top of each other on the beach. It was just... Did those images find their way to you over in London then?
They did. I try and get a lot of my Australian news from the Batuta Advocate to have a nice laugh to it, and I think they were even more expletive than what you were. But it did, and I suppose the interesting thing is, like you said, we're probably 2-3 weeks ahead of the developments here compared to down there, but everything looks like it's going to go the same way. They started playing soccer matches or football matches here with no crowds, then they turned off the season. The AFL's just announced that they're turning off the season. So it's a little bit frustrating, because you kind of go, guys, you can see what's coming and you're literally just ignoring it. Like, I understand a little bit over here in Italy and that kind of thing, because it was unprecedented. It's like you can't really do a like for like comparative to what China was, because China's a whole different landscape. But the UK and Australia is not that different. So you kind of look at it and go, well, when businesses over here have announced a mass amount of redundancies, I know people in Australia that have already been sort of let go, and it's the tip of the iceberg. People here are gearing up for some very tough times. And then you see 20,000 people on Bondi, kind of go, well, but then again, they are 20,000 people in Bondi, so they're probably rich enough to weather it all anyway.
Well, this is one of the guys, and they quoted, I think, I'm not sure of the source of this, it might have been the AFR, or it might have been ABC News, and it's a guy who said, you can't stop people, and this guy was about 30 years old, they had a photo of him, you can't stop people from living. That's the way I look at it. If it's a nice day and I want to have a run and a swim, well, I'm going to go and do it. And that's exactly what's wrong with the Australian attitude at the moment, because the template is there. Like, the UK kind of ignored it. The US kind of ignored it. The US, if you look at the data now, there's not a single intensive care bed available in New York City. New York City, not a single intensive care bed available. So people going there with coronavirus and stuff, which is not coronavirus, your everyday stuff, and they can't actually get in. They're getting sent away. It's just, I can't believe that it's not getting through. I don't know if it's part of the lack of communication, if they're not using the right communication channels here, if ScoMo, who is the figurehead of a lot of this communication, is not doing it right. If it's a combination of everything, but at the moment, they're just stuffing it up.
Yeah, I think like, one thing that I found was, being in the healthcare sector, is that's the thing that you don't think about. Like, everyone thinks, oh yeah, corona and it's fine, and like, and I'm even a bit of that. I'm like, how much can this really be allowed to impact people's lives? But then, knowing the healthcare side, it's like, the system, most healthcare systems around the world are on fringe anyway. They're sort of fragile. They're legacy systems. Medicare's from the 60s. The NHS over here is from the 40s. They weren't built for the populations that we have. So they were already like on the fringe. And this was just taking it all to the next level. So yeah, there's people dying of corona, but there's a lot of people that will also probably, die or be quite severely sick, because they cannot access healthcare services because they're so stretched at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like if there was a bed for everybody who had coronavirus in Italy or in the UK or in the US or eventually probably in a couple of weeks here in Australia, which is just a terrifying thing to think about. If there was enough beds and enough people to deal with the people, the death rate would be significantly lower. People wouldn't be dying from it. But the issue is this health system becomes so stretched and just gets smashed with all these people that it can't cater and treat everyone. And that's what people end up dying from, the fact that they can't get the right treatment, because in of itself, the virus itself, if you get the right healthcare, is probably not going to kill you. But the issue is the health systems are just failing because they're not set up for this.
Yeah, we'll put it this way: it's a very unlucky time to have a stroke or a heart attack right now.
Yeah. Well, all three of us now are essentially working from home full time. I know you've obviously, with everything going over in London now, so all three of us are working at home with our spouses around 24/7. How's that going for you guys? The silence is probably speaking for itself.
We're up here in Queensland, so we're still working from the sharing desk place we work from, and that'll continue until they either shut that down due to a case or they close the schools here. So, but we are deciding we are taking Mia out of school this week and for the foreseeable future. Now that they've cancelled the NAPLAND for years 3, 5, 7 and 9 across the country, we just feel that she's probably better off at home. So Eloise and Sam, business as usual for those two until they get shut down, which will probably be this week, I'm guessing. But yeah, it's going to be close quarters for a very long time. So we've really got to, plan out our days in terms of making sure Mia doesn't just sit there and watch Netflix, but we actually do a bit of homeschooling, which I'm guessing we'll talk about soon.
Yeah.
And then, like you just said there, Kane, it'll be practically 24/7 with the same person,
and the same
person. Who knows how long?
Can I just ask there, and I'm just trying to, and I don't really know the answer or understand as such. What's the difference between pulling Mia out now and not pulling out Sam and Eloise? What's the differential between pulling out one versus pulling out the three?
Yeah, so where Sam is at the moment, Mia's in a classroom of 30 kids, and the space in the classroom, you just can't separate the desks 1.5 metres or the 2 metres, or 4 metres square it needs to be. So whereas Sam's in an environment where he's only in a class full of 6 other toddlers his age, and a lot of them have already been pulled out anyway with their parents. So it's really the social distancing for him is fine. The same with Eloise as well. There's not as many kids in her class anymore either. So I dare say if it was a full house of both Sam and Eloise, we'd probably pull them out as well. But at the moment, we'll leave them be until they decide to close those down.
Yeah, and your in-laws are around you as well. Like they're probably in the demographic where this becomes really serious, just like my parents are and my partner's parents. Are you seeing them still? What does that look like with the family relationship between actually seeing their grandparents?
Yeah, so they were around on the weekend, and you're right, they're both in the demographic. The grandfather is 73, so he's pretty much smack bang in the average age of danger. And yeah, we rely on them on a Tuesday and Wednesday to look after Eloise and Sam respectively. So I think we're just going to have to assess it this week. It's probably going to be on us to stop that, I guess, because the danger rate, and it's probably more of a responsibility on us not to put the kids with them, even though they'll probably say they're fine and they're pretty upbeat about everything, but just not worth the risk, I think.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan? How's it all going with you and TK? I say cooped up, or being working from home in London, which is not what you foresaw when you went over there a couple of months ago.
No, definitely not what was foreseen. Especially because I had such a good work from home set up in Melbourne. and a very, very average one here. But I think it's just kind of, it's up and down. It's sort of just roll with the punches. So I've been put on lockdown from work. So our offices are still operating, but operating at a very reduced capacity. And that's only because our company has like 20,000 people. So for the last month, we've been mass integrating like frontline staff, call centers, everything to home. We should have that rolled out by the end of this week, where everybody will be out of the office. But we've had a policy for a while of a desk between everyone and sort of no more than 50% of people there. But because I have mild asthma, I was one of the people that was basically grounded, so not allowed to come in. So yeah, it's going, I'll be honest, not doing the best, going a little bit stir crazy already because I'm quite an outgoing person, but it's just part and parcel of the reality of it at the moment. I think TK may at times want to kill me during this period, but it'll be interesting.
Well, certainly, yes. It's certainly a good test because, yeah, living in each other's pockets 24/7 certainly is it's an interesting experience. Like there's no one's relationships like that like on an everyday basis. It's just these sort of unique situations where you get put in sort of this sort of environment. This sort of stuff hasn't happened ever before, so hopefully it's a one-off.
Yeah, exactly. How are you guys going, like looking at the prospect of, I suppose, homeschooling? That, the schools here shut on Friday. So yeah, everyone with parents are basically on, I suppose, homeschooling now.
Yeah, well, we're 1 week in, so the school where my little fella goes to proactively called off and closed down. He's part of a bigger campus as well, so there was, risks because of the number of kids and different demographics and stuff like that. The principal made the call to close the entire school down. So we've been on a week of homeschooling, and it's intense. It's at this point in time we were kind of looking forward to. Little fella's meant to be in kinder 12 hours a week. And then come home, have lunch. He still has a rest in the afternoon. Then we'll play with him in the afternoon. So that's essentially gone. So all the plans you have of, okay, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y, and we'll just start to get into the swing of things of, it's nice actually having a couple of hours of non-kid time in the morning where you can get a few things done. That's disappeared. So we're only one week in, and by Friday we're exhausted. It's like 2 full-time jobs rolled into one, trying to run the small business and basically still facilitate some level of, I guess, kinder for a 4-year-old.
We're a bit the same, but it's probably a little bit less stressful for us, just due to the age difference between your boy Kane and my Mia, who's nearly 8, so grade 3. So anything we give her to do, she can pretty much sit there by herself and pump it out. Her teacher is actually in the 60 age range, and a grandmother. So she decided to stop work. So they got a substitute teacher for her class, which is another reason we thought we'd pull her out as well, just because she's not getting the same level she was getting with the original teacher. But that teacher that did leave has been planning all of last week, setting up like online learning for her class. So she's sort of on the front foot. So we've got a whole heap of, materials we can give to Mia over the next couple of weeks until it is school holidays up here. But I think, like you said, when Eloise is off, that's when the challenge sort of begins, because you need to really sit down with that age of child and drum it in, or sit with them while they do learn, just so that it's getting through to them. They can't work sort of independently, and when Sam's going to be at home, it'll be a whole other ball game.
Yeah, because we basically get set at 9 o'clock a set of tasks for the day, like exploring tasks, like go outside and find something green, and then drawing without something green, and then report back by sending a photo to this email address. There's no real interactivity as such. It's literally just, here's an activity, you guys work it out. You can do it if you want, you don't have to. I'm like, okay, so then it's okay. While there's an activity, you still got to go and do the activity. That, like, we're at that Mia sort of age. It's like, okay, you're doing English for an hour, and this is what you need to do. Just go and do it. You can replicate that. I think you can replicate that platform a lot easier as the kids get older and they're more self-sufficient, as opposed to that 4 or 5-year-old range where it's literally, oh yeah, go find your reflection in something and get your mummy or daddy to take a photo and send us an email about it. Like,
That requires all of you.
yeah, exactly. I can't just go, mate, just go
all
kick
your
the ball.
time.
Just kick the ball out the backyard for half an hour. I'll come out in a little bit. Like, it's full on.
Need to implement my whiteboard, mate, with half an hour increments of time and activities, so they can tick it off as they go.
Yeah, I've bought the Lego
It's a
back
game
out.
changer.
Yeah, it is. I'm not sure my little fella's up to it yet. Like the whiteboard, we tried to do it with try to get ready for kinder, and he was just like, "I do not need this, Daddy. I will be ready in time." So,
Mate, I'm ready when I'm ready.
yeah, pretty much. Got attitude, little fella. So, but yeah, it's the whiteboard. I could, yeah, you have to bring it back out when you're younger to home. That's for sure. But
Have you guys developed like a self-isolation, don't go crazy to do this yet? Like a COVID-19 plan?
not yet. We've kind of, I've been in self-isolation. It's not self-isolation as such. It's more social distancing, like serious social distancing since the 5th of March. So the best part of 2.5 weeks now. The last time I left the house to do anything, which was not just duck to the shops, was the 5th of March. So we're kind of at the stage now where it's sort of normal-ish. And it's just for us, it's almost breaking the day into 2-hour slots. Like, okay, who's going to look after little fella for the next 2 hours and the 2 hours and the 2 hours, and the other person can go for a walk and get some fresh air, or have a sleep. So it's almost just trying to just break it up into just chunk after chunk and just get through that next 2 hours, if that makes sense. Which sounds really sort of grim. But it's it may be just the best way of doing it for us at the moment. Because at the moment we're not completely shut down. We've maybe chosen to be a bit more shut down than Victoria is. But I know in the next few days or a week it's going to be compulsory. What about you, Maddie?
Yeah, well, I've got a lot of projects here kicking around anyway, so it'll be a good time to get on top of those. But I dare say I'll be making a trip to Bunnings in the next couple of days to load up on materials. But I dare say my time here is going to be looking after, if it all comes to a head and Kim's got to work from home, I'll be taking the kids, I'm guessing, just to let her be able to do her work and not have the kids distract her. Either that or she'll maybe go to her parents and work at the office there, hopefully, just so she can get stuff done. But yeah, mate, I've got plenty of jobs here to keep me going for a lifetime. So
I guess that's the difference. You're going to go to Bunnings and I'm going to go to Dan Murphy's.
Yes. I'll go to Dan Murphy's too.
I'm not sure either to pitch and this is the stupid bit. No one has defined what non-essential means. What's a non-essential, non-essential travel? What's non-essential business? What's non-essential this? There's no definitive list of, okay, if this is my work, is it going to be shut? Where London seems a bit more definitive. It is what it is. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, I think our liquor stores are still open, but then again, they sell liquor in like all the supermarkets here. So yeah, it's pretty reasonably defined here. There's still some ambiguity of it, but it's probably only about 10%, and I think that'll get ironed out in the next week. But yeah, I've developed a bit of a COVID-19, like, must do some form of exercise every day, must leave the house, even if it's just to walk around the apartment block, must be up and not in pajamas by 8:30 a.m. That's kind of what is coming for if you guys going to shut down. Catching up with friends, they were just like, that's a really good idea. We have definitely not been doing that. I was like, yes, I can see very easily how that happens.
Yeah. I think, and something which I suggested to my partner last week, and we didn't get to do on the weekend, was actually doing like a video call with friends on a Friday or Saturday night, like maybe having a glass of wine and videoing, like, Maddie and Kim, or you and TK over there in London, just to have a chat, just try to replicate some of those social conversations you'd have with another human being, like, apart from just, you love your partner and all, but you can't just talk to them 24/7. Actually just being able to talk to somebody else, just using video facilitate that.
Especially because they know everything has happened. It's like, how was your day? You were sitting right next to me for all of it.
Oh, classic.
Yes, it's super. That's super. How's your day, honey? Oh, you were there. You saw it. Oh man.
Yeah, you remember when I got pissed off when this email came through and when I got frustrated with this project? Yeah, let's reminisce on that.
It makes the dinner conversation nice and short, and everyone just choose the dinner and gets on with their evening.
Exactly.
Oh, well, boys, I think that'll wrap it up for this week on Daddy Eats Last. Remember to subscribe to us on iTunes if you haven't done already, because you've got plenty of time on your hands no matter where you are around the world. So subscribe to our podcast, and that way it will hit your podcast listening apparatus every Monday. It'll give you something to do. Most of all, thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week for another episode, or should I say serving, of Daddy Eats Last. Not sure we should make any dad jokes. Catch you next week. And be safe, everyone.
Bye bye. Bye bye.